Welcome to the Manuela Method. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome to my podcast where we have currently discussed methods for personal growth and personal development to make yourself the most undeniable version of yourself. But the journey's just begun and I'm having a blast. Anna and I, we're so proud. I'm so proud. We just put out our first episode with another human being. We just put out an episode with a guest, Allison Westbourne, incredible human. Just like, I want to start there because we really just started. Like there was a vision, there was a plan, but everything else in between the intention and the realization was improvised, right? And it's been really cool. It's been a really cool journey so far. And we just put out our first episode with Allison, which she honored me with that. To always be able to carry that as my first episode is such a beautiful freaking gift that this universe has given me, that Allison has given me. It could not have been anybody. It could not have been anybody else, or it would have been somebody else. You know what I'm saying? The other thing I was going to say was that day we kept seeing fours. I know that the episode was 5. Okay, you guys know it as episode number 5, but technically we recorded it as episode number 4, which is another thing that I'm really proud of Anna and I for doing, is being able to adapt and overcome obstacles and delays and just anything we've had to go through. But that episode, there was just so much validation and so many weird things that kept happening. We took a picture that day that kind of like blew my mind, because the picture was of our reflections on the table, but it's on my Instagram. You can go find it on my Instagram, but like the reflection on the table, mine was like white. Like my whole reflection, like you could see my silhouette, but it was like glowing, like white. And her silhouette it was a reflection. You could see her in the photo or on the table. And I just thought it was so weird because around the time that photo was taken, I had a moment where, like, I don't know if you've ever felt this. I hope you have, but there's certain moments in my life where I feel so grounded. Like I get to a point where I'm like so in the moment, it feels like time slows down. And I'm just like, holy crap. Like this is so, like, it feels like my whole world just like zooms out. And I see myself as this just like grain of sand. And I'm like, the fact that I'm a grain of sand and I get to experience this around me, like this is my universe, you know, and like these are the people in my life. It's like, it just blows my mind. And I had one of those moments in the episode, and then that photo was taken around that time. And I think to myself, like, I truly believe in energy. And I think cultivating my energy is my goal, my life purpose. And I think my life purpose is to help others cultivate and grow and harvest their own energy and really create the unconditional love that is the fuel for everything, I think. And I just feel like it was such a validating moment for me, like regardless of like what happened, right? Like I'm not saying that it couldn't have been just like a technical difficulty or like user error, the light reflection, whatever it was. It's not how it happened. Like, it's not that it was like a technical difficulty. It was obviously a glitch of some kind, right? Like it was something somewhere picked up on something or did something. I'm not saying that it was like a ghost that freaking came up and like did some voodoo. Like it's not something that has to be so out there, but it's just the fact that I had that sensation and something happened that associated for me that moment is the validation. I feel like some people like dig way too deep into it. Like it can't be validation because it was so-and-so that did so-and-so that did so-and-so. It's like, no. It's the fact that it actually happened, right? It's not so much like how it came about. It's that it transpired and it connected something for you. That connection itself is the validation. You don't have to go any further either. Like you don't have to continue to dig into it. I think about it almost as like a checkpoint. Like it's kind of just like, it's like a nod, like you're in the right direction, like keep on going. Anyway, so I got a lot of that day, and it made me really grateful, like extremely grateful for like where I was at that point in time. And it's just continued to be, even more amazing to be able to work on this podcast and meet the people that I've met. And I think to myself, like, I'm just getting started. Like, we haven't even put out what? That was episode 5. Like, we have so many more episodes ahead of us. And I've already had such an amazing time that I'm like, that's crazy. Like, that's crazy. And I'm so excited. Anyway, I'm so excited. So what I actually brought you guys here today to talk about, though, was cuffing season. And I really wanted to, I wanted to share my experience with cuffing season, but I think first we need to go into like what even is cuffing season, because I didn't really know what it was. I didn't realize I didn't know what it was until I started to pick up on the signs and symptoms of it and associate it with the signs and symptoms of cuffing season that people were referring to, like on social media. And I was like, am I coming down with cuffing season? Let me not start there. So let's go back. So what is cuffing season? So cuffing season. So I didn't really know what cuffing season was, like I said, until I started to pick up on the signs and symptoms, where I was like, oh, okay, like, why is it that I am starting to get hit up by people that I haven't talked to in a minute? And I'm like, why are people all of a sudden, like, wanting to be a little bit more intimate? I'm like, And then I start to realize, like, there's something called cuffing season. And it usually happens between October and, ironically enough, Valentine's Day. So from October to Valentine's Day, the colder months, like the winter months, people are less likely to go out. People are less likely to meet other people. People are staying indoors. They have more intimate settings. They're with family. So the likelihood of them finding something and starting something during the holidays is low. So they usually turn, whether consciously or subconsciously, towards the people in their life that they currently have, and kind of from that decide who to cuff with the rest of the season, or like who to spend the rest of the holiday season with, more for convenience sake. Right? Because it's like that way you don't have to go out looking for something. You get to still enjoy the company of the other person. You get to enjoy the company of somebody who you get along with romantically. So for the past 10, 11 years, I think 11 technically, because we were dating. Yes, 11. So for the past 11 years, I had been with someone for the holidays. And this is the first year in 11 years that I'm single during cuffing season. And it's been interesting to understand what it's like to feel more lonely during the holidays than I'm usually used to. Especially as somebody who came out of my relationship realizing that I had abandonment issues to work on. Feeling as if I have to get my worth or my value or be validated by the actions or the things I'm providing for others. The holiday season was crucial, and I didn't realize that till now. I didn't realize that I looked forward to surprising my significant other, surprising my family, my friends, or just throwing events, being around more people, being around friends that I'm no longer close to, just from, just an organic divide in our relationship. So there was a lot of things that shifted that I wasn't really totally aware of until I was kind of like knee deep in the ish, you know what I mean? And that kind of hit me hard. And I think it was around Thanksgiving that I really felt that loneliness, right? Like almost like a loneliness that you feel only like a significant other or somebody who really knows you could ever fill. And I really had to shift my perspective there because I caught myself really sliding into something really unnecessarily, because I do believe that whatever you feed, whatever you put out, you get back, right? So if I'm going to focus on how lonely I am, if I'm going to always feel lonely, discuss loneliness, think about the people that are making me feel lonely, the only thing I'm going to find is more loneliness, because that's what I'm going to become totally aware to. So I had a moment where I was like, okay, everything is in my power. So I create my reality. If my reality is currently loneliness, how am I creating loneliness in my life? And I realized that, the ultimately the solution to that was to dive into gratitude and to begin to only see through the lens of gratitude instead of seeing through what I lacked and looking for the things that I didn't have. And I started to realize that there are people in my life that are so much closer to me, are so much better to me, are so much kinder, and do so much more for me than the people that left my life. And I was so much more focused on, it wasn't just my ex that I'm thinking about. Honestly, let's get this straight. I'm not wanting to go back. I'm very happy where I am. It's just that there's almost like a muscle memory around this time for me where I don't know if you're currently going through a breakup or you've gone through a breakup. It's like there's certain times of year or like certain, just like anything where you almost like it brings you back, right? And it's like, I didn't want to feel that way, but I let almost like a sensation, I almost justified it by finding something external from me to fixate on. And I fixated on my loneliness, and I allowed that to be, I was throwing myself like a pity party almost, right? And I realized like, okay, well, I can't exist in a world where I'm powerful, but also throw myself a pity party. Anyway, we need to talk about the don'ts of cuffing season, which are pretty much just don'ts for everyday life, homie. Because I don't want you to think about cuffing season as anything different than any other day of the week, any other day. Actually, you know what? I want you to always think about yourself and the decisions you make as the best version of yourself. So you're making decisions through the best version of yourself, never making decisions from your loneliest point or your most desperate point. I have never made a decision out of desperation that I have felt came out exceeding expectations. I truly feel that it was unnecessary. Anytime that I make decisions out of desperation, they're usually unnecessarily made. It's me being impatient. So don't be impatient. You owe it to yourself to not be impatient. You work hard on yourself. Take your time. You deserve the best. And the best doesn't come every day. It doesn't come easy. So relax. Take your time, queen. As I try and toss my hair flip my cable back. But we need to talk about the fact that, we need to talk about when you are functioning from your highest self and you're making decisions out of your highest self, out of that version, then the decisions that you make during this time will look different than if you're making it from your loneliest point. So if right now you're feeling really lonely, then you might go back to an ex, which you don't need. You don't need to do that because you made that decision when you were at your best or when you were at a better point. So respect yourself enough to respect the decisions that you've already made. Because you made those decisions at some point because it was in your best interest, because you always got you, right? And now you're going to go back on your word. If you can't keep your own word, how are you going to trust yourself? And if you can't trust yourself, how are other people going to trust you? So if you can't trust yourself, how are other people going to trust you? You can't blame them when they don't, right? Because you don't even trust your own word. So you need to be able to keep that mindset, keep that boundary and respect yourself enough to say, you know what, I think I want this right now, but I'm going to respect my decision, give myself time to understand why I'm going to this. And that's a great time to really dive deep and figure out why you feel like you need somebody else to fill you up right now, or need somebody else to maybe distract you during this time. Because I really feel that there's a few reasons why you might want or feel like you need somebody during cuffing season. And I only say this because I could see this for myself, right? And I could see how at this point in time, if I did bring somebody, the likelihood of me discussing topics about my ex or discussing topics around relationships that I don't want to talk about are less likely to happen. So I could definitely use them as a shield. I could also use them to not hang out with my family and have something else to do so that I don't have to feel discomfort in any way. So all the things that we are or might be toxic during this time that we might feel make us need somebody during the holiday season are all things that are usually out of convenience. It's never really out of compatibility's sake if it is toxic. So it's another way that you can gauge whether or not the relationships that you're building during this time are relationships that you're going to want to continue to invest in past the February 14th cutoff of cuffing season. But you could start to ask yourself certain questions like, am I with this person because they're available, or am I with this person because I do enjoy being with them more than I would somebody else at this point in time, or because their priorities match my priorities, because they want the same things out of life, because they are moving in the same direction as me, because they support my dreams and my ambition. There's a lot of reasons why we would want to be somebody that is not convenience related, but is compatibility related, that we need to take inventory of in general, that we need to really think about in general, but especially during a time where you might feel like you're desperate or you're lonely or you're coming from a lower vibrational standpoint. But that's not to say that relationships can develop during this time. They really can. And I do believe that this might sound kind of controversial, but I think that you could develop a relationship for the season. That's just me. I think that it would take a lot of emotional intelligence. I think as I literally slur the word intelligence, I think it would take a lot of emotional intelligence. I think it would take a lot of clear communication, maturity, and understanding of expectations versus standards, which is something that I do want to discuss with you in a sec. But I think it would take two people that are very ready and very open-minded to be able to do that, to know that it's something that won't last in the long run, and you're both okay with that, and you're both going to allow the other person to be themselves while being able to come together and enjoy time together. So it's a very dangerous game if you are not fully feeling in control of your emotions and in control of your actions during that time. So I personally, if you are feeling any sort of way, just take this time for yourself. There's nothing wrong with you being alone or by yourself during the holidays. And I'm learning that. Pause. Everybody take a water break. Pick it up. I'll wait. Sorry to leave you hanging. I hope you had your water. We'll wait. Oh my God, it's David. Oh, I'm almost done. I'm just giving the general public some advice during cuffing season. Darn, I was onto something. But anyway, yes, I'm having a blast. And that being said, getting back to yourself during this time it's a great time. It's a great opportunity, because I realized something yesterday. And what I realized is that you were going to tell him what you wanted for Christmas anyway. You know what I'm saying? So you might as well just get it for yourself before Christmas even. I think you deserve an early Christmas present. I think you deserve an early Christmas present. That's just me. And I thought to myself, there's nothing that anybody can give me right now in my life that I can't give to myself that I need. And that feels really good. It feels really good because then all my interactions I can give without feeling the need to receive. I can give without expectations. And then those are the situations that always give you back. Those are the situations that fill you up. The friendships that really last for a really long time are those situations where you don't need anything. So you're giving your 100% without the need to receive. And so that feels really good. So right now is the time to get yourself the presents, take yourself to the spa. Also don't put yourself in situations that are toxic. Don't put yourself in relationships that are toxic. Don't put yourself in things that trigger you to feel the anxiety or the depression that the season already causes you. Let's steer in the opposite direction. Okay, actually, let me go back, because before we steer in the opposite direction, you first have to understand what it is that you're steering away from and how to do that. Because when I say that, I don't mean avoid the emotions, because you need to process what's going on. You need to understand why a situation makes you feel the way it does. And then from there, you can then decide if it is in or out of your control to feel those things, if it is something that needs to be addressed or not. And then you can figure out whether you want to be in those circles or not. But it first has to start with you getting really vulnerable with yourself and saying, why do I feel the need to have somebody else come into my life right now and either be my distraction or be my shield or take me away from my current reality? Why am I not creating a reality that I do want to live in? And then from there is where you can steer clear of situations that don't align with that don't align with your purpose or your morals, your values, your priorities, and the things that derail you. Then you will be aware to those things. So when I say steer clear of it, I don't just mean if it hurts your feelings, leave, because that is so shallow and so immature and so far from the point that you really need to get down to understand, because it all comes from you first. So if you start to use words like they make me or you, when you start to talk outside of yourself, that has to be a signal for you to get back and think about what you're doing, because everything stems from you. We create the reality that we're in. So we can't start saying you, because nobody else, we don't want to give them that power to begin with, right? Because I don't want anybody to have control over my life, whether it is good or bad. Because if they have control over me to make my life good, they have control over me to make my life bad. So I'd rather have no one have control over my life and me have total control over my life, because that's the only way that I can guarantee that my life turns out to be exactly what I want it to be. So make sure you stay in that power and you allow yourself to feel what you're experiencing this holiday season, so you really know where, in what direction or what needs to come from it, what growth can come from this time. And because it is a time that it is more intimate, because it is a time that it's a little bit slower, don't think about, like we were talking, what you start to think about, you get more of. Don't think about this as a time for loneliness. Think about this as a time for you. Think about this as a time for think about this as a time to get back to yourself, to ask yourself what you want, what you like. And then next week's episode is actually Haley and Devante, which ironically enough, when we were talking, we realized that the only cuffing season we've ever had here in Florida, because we don't live in a cold state, so we don't know what it's like to not be able to go out and mingle and whatever, is COVID. We had COVID lockdown. That's the closest thing to cuffing season. And we talked about it a little bit, and I thought it was really funny that they moved in together during that time. So we kind of correlated cuffing season and the COVID lockdown a little bit. So it was really fun to connect those dots. But they're so incredible, and they're a couple, which, let me tell you, we already recorded that episode. And that episode gave me hope for what a Instagram or social media relationship could be, because as somebody on social media, I sometimes struggle with the idea of what it could look like for somebody to be with somebody who is on social media, or could I be with somebody who doesn't understand social media? It's a really hard kind of life to live with a significant other that doesn't understand that world or doesn't understand what it's like. So it was a really cool episode to be able to kind of dive into what a working relationship is, to create relationship related content on social media and kind of have your relationship out there for the world. So come back for that episode, because it was really freaking cute. They're so freaking cute, guys. I'm obsessed with them. I want to make some YouTube videos with them. They're doing Vlogmas. Adorable. But listen, you guys are incredible. You guys are incredible human beings. And yes, you can develop relationships during this time. Just make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. Compatibility sake, not convenience sake. Make sure that you're checking in with yourself, figuring out why you're feeling the need to have somebody during this time, because that is your opportunity to grow. And since we are in a more intimate time, take it for yourself. You have all this time, money, and energy now that you can invest into yourself. And that's a beautiful thing. The more you think about it that way, the more you will have for yourself, because what we put out, we get back. Remember, that's an immediate thing. You can switch in a heartbeat. You can switch the next sentence, and all of a sudden your reality will start to change. But you have to commit to a storyline. You just have to commit. I had a freaking blast. Did I tell you I had a freaking blast? I'm in love with you. I really am. And I can't wait to do this for the rest of my life. I really can't. This is so fun. And I hope I did well. Regardless, I did it. And you know that in itself is something we freaking celebrate here. So I can't wait to hear everything that I didn't do right. So we can fix it next time, but I can't wait to celebrate that we freaking did this episode anyway. And that's on perseverance sake, bitch. I love you guys, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. You guys deserve the world. Besitos, mis angelitos, and see you guys on the next episode of the Manuela Method. Guys, that was so fun! So I hope that I feel like, honestly, sometimes I worry that more people will start to see this, and then I'm gonna become memes. Because sometimes I do things that are really, I'm like, I need water so bad, because I feel like this is sounding so, oh my God, are my eyes super small? I'm so embarrassed.